One of the topics that we are asked about a lot has to do with insurance. How do you select the right insurance for your RV? Because if you make a mistake, you can overpay or be undercovered. And there are so many variables that when it comes to choosing RV insurance, you need to know as much as possible to make sure you're getting the best deal and the best coverage. This week, in our interview of the week, we're going to dig into just that. Well, joining us right now to help sort through these RV insurance questions is Teresa Kogar. She is with Recreation Insurance Specialists, also known as RIS. And first, Teresa, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now, let me ask a couple of questions. Most RVers sign up for insurance right at the dealer, or they just call their home insurance provider, or they perhaps call their, whoever they normally do their car insurance with. How do people avoid making the mistakes that cost them a lot of money and get them not less than adequate insurance for their RVs? Give us some scenarios, the mistakes people make.
Well, first of all, when someone's purchasing an RV, everyone is very anxious to get the sale done and over with. And often at the dealership, they want there to be proof of insurance before they take the RV. So the pressure is a little high to go out and get the insurance from where they recommend or who they filter their referrals to. And sometimes they haven't had a chance to really cover RV specialty coverages, and sometimes they're not even a carrier that have RV specialty coverage.
So what exactly does RV specialty coverage cover? Why do we need to have special coverage for this? Why wouldn't a car policy do it, or a home policy? What are some of the pitfalls that choosing the wrong insurance can cause us?
One thing, without a specialty coverage carrier, you're not looking at people who can adjust claims the same way that they are not experienced enough with what to expect with RV damage and that and water leakage and those types of things. So that's one thing. The other thing is the value of your vehicle is a lot different than your auto. We all are accustomed to a car loses its value as soon as you pull it off the dealership lot, but RVs are a little bit different, and with RV specialty coverages, you can kind of protect yourself from losing too much on your vehicle.
So one of the things that can be done with it, that you guys do, one of the reasons we speak very highly of you guys, is that you kind of custom make a policy based on the RV owner's needs, rather than kind of just this blanket coverage that we often can just sign up for when we get insurance on our car. Is that kind of how it works? And explain what a RV insurance specialist just does. When I fill out that little form, and we'll put a link to you guys on the show notes for this and in the description. But when I fill out that little form, what happens then?
Well, we take into consideration if it's a brand new unit or a used unit. That's one of the very most important things. You can qualify for total loss replacement as opposed to an actual cash value policy, which means if you have a total loss to your unit, they will actually replace the vehicle with a new one of the same make and model to the closest they can get it, as opposed to an actual cash value policy that would, at the time of the loss, they would decide then, well, what was the value of the vehicle? So those are sometimes, that's the biggest thing that hits you, is that, boy, I thought this was for $60,000 and I had a total loss and I'm only getting $45,000. The other thing you want to look for is, how does the person use the vehicle? Are they full-time, using it as their home and have no home? Do they use it 6 months of the year, but they're snowbirds and live in Ohio to get away from the snow? They're gone. Are they using it for things other than personal use? There's a lot of different questions that go in there. So we would figure out, well, what carriers are available that can insure them for these usages. And there are also specialty coverages that may be important. Do you pull a trailer behind your motorhome? Personal effects that you may have, because you live in it, you have a lot, so you want to take into consideration those things. They also offer valuable personal property for people so that you can schedule it on the policy, much like a homeowner's policy. A lot of those things go into figuring out where, what carrier is best for you.
Now, how many carriers are there out there that you guys typically will survey in coming up with a recommended policy?
Well, we have 4 carriers that we're using right now. There are probably 4, or there's probably 5 or 6 out there that do an RV specialty coverage. Some of the bigger companies are getting a little more involved as they learn, well, this is a good category to go to. They look at RVers as being responsible people who care about their property, who are going to take care of it. So it's kind of a good risk for them. But I would say right now there's about 4 to 6 carriers that you can really get some RV coverage that can be tailored to your needs.
From your experience, do most RVers overpay or get inadequate insurance when they just kind of do it on their own or go through whatever the dealer recommends? What's your experience on that? Your advice to RVers?
I don't know that people overpay necessarily by not shopping around, but you do take a risk of not getting coverage that you need. I think the industry itself, you may have one carrier that's much more competitive to another one, but sooner or later they kind of equal out, because after they've reviewed their losses each year, they have to do, hey, are we even making any profit here? So that's how rates are, that's one of the factors that go into that. So I think you're more looking, it's always important to shop around because people's rates do change. So it's a good idea to keep in touch at least, if not every year, every other year, to see if you're, in the ballpark. And obviously when rate changes happen at your renewals, you'll know, I definitely want to shop around. It's $400 more this year. So, but what you're missing out on is making sure that you got the good coverage with a carrier that understands RV claims and how to expedite them, and that you have all the coverages that you could have available to you.
Talk about those coverages. What are some of the specialty items that most RVers should have with insuring their RV? What are some of the things we might miss that we don't know? You talked a minute ago about total loss repair or sort of loss versus actual cash value. And I'm not sure I quite understood that. Actual cash value, it has to do with kind of after depreciation and mileage, but total loss, what is that, and what's the advantage of choosing that over the other?
Well, a total loss replacement is offered to those who are the original owner of a vehicle that is 5 years or newer. So let's say you're purchasing a brand new unit, you purchase the total loss replacement, and what it does is it kind of guarantees that you will have your RV replaced with a new vehicle if you have a total loss. So those things, if you do an actual cash value and it's 2 or 3 years down the road, they do a value check on the vehicle, and you get less than what you actually purchased it for. With total loss replacement, there's not really a set figure except for them to base their rate on. But you know that, well, if I have a 2018 Allegra, bus, I'm going to get something very similar if I have a total loss at the end of the claim.
So that's something we would recommend, obviously, for people who are buying a new unit. What are some of the other specialty things that we should have, or at least consider when we're choosing an RV insurance?
The other coverages are there's vacation liability that is kind of like a homeowner's policy for your campsite. So if you have visitors that you're not related to somehow get injured in or around your campsite, and it can cover for injuries and property damage that you might do at a campsite, that kind of thing. You have emergency expense that also pays for hotel stays and travel if you are have a loss to your vehicle and you're far away from home, and it's something you can't stay in it for the night. They'll reimburse your hotel stays and even help pay for a rental car after the fact. That's a good one. There's also, as I mentioned, the personal effects for those who carry things that are valuable, that want to keep things on you can schedule it on the policy. Those are things that are not necessarily available, if you just add it to your auto policy. There's things where people add like a satellite dish to their vehicle. Those things are considered in the value of the vehicle, the upgrade. So even on a regular auto policy, they're not going to be concerned. Well, not that they're not concerned, but they don't have the extra coverage for those types of things.
All right, now let's walk through just finding the right policy for us. So we send somebody to your RIS site, and what happens? They fill out a form, and walk us through how a recreation vehicle insurance specialist will help find the right price for them, and how long does that normally take?
Once we have the information, we're basically going to run the information with all our carriers that we have available. We will determine whether the vehicle is eligible for coverage, such as toter homes and medium-duty trucks and fifth-wheel trailers that go together. The medium-duty tow and the toter home is harder to place, so we would determine, okay, we have this carrier for that. So that's another thing. You have to consider eligibility. And at that point, we try the carriers. We don't do like an automated quote that just kind of puts it into 5 or 6 carriers to see who gets the best price. We do actually put it in physically because there's information that's really important with discounts. Are they shopping ahead of time? All that kind of stuff kind of goes into the works when you're doing it. But we definitely would have it within the same day.
So if, people typically will buy an RV and they got to show up to sign the final papers tomorrow or the day after, that's when they need the insurance, and there's still time for them to go through that process and find the policy that's right for them and their RV by just filling out that form and talking to your specialist. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It is. There are times when, we may have to ask an underwriter a question. Very few times where it would take less than, the same day that you have asked for it to get, the quote and even issue the policy. It's right. Not, so it's basically, if you made a rush decision to buy something, or all of a sudden they said, hey, it's delivered and it's here waiting for you, and maybe you didn't do, your homework quick enough, we can, put it out within a day for sure.
All right. Now, some general safeguards for people who have insurance and keeping track of so that they're not disappointed when it comes to claims time if they have to file a claim. What's some advice that all RVers can follow to make sure that the insurance procedure works real well when they have to actually call the underwriter and make a claim?
Yeah, that's a really good question because, when you're on the other end of it, when you're going through a claim, You don't want to be surprised by things. And it actually, it helps in terms of how long it takes the claim to go through. But if you keep very good records, photos of your vehicle, receipts when you've done upgrades or added something to your vehicle that adds value to it, keeping that all in a finger, you know where it is at all times would be really helpful during a claim process, and like the title and registration, that kind of thing. But the better you keep records on, of the condition of your vehicle, what it looked like, because a total loss could mean an adjuster can't even, there's nothing for them to look at. So they know what they're looking at by the proof that you have. So that's the very number one thing that will safeguard you from being surprised, or if the claim not reaching your expectations.
All right. Well, Teresa Koger from Recreation Insurance Specialist, you have given us some great information today. And the point I think of this whole message for people is RV insurance it's insurance on probably the second most costly purchase anybody will ever make, which is a recreation vehicle. So having adequate insurance is pretty essential. And of course, finding the best policy that's tailored for you is something that we recommend. And we will put a link to RIS, Recreation Insurance Specialist, on the description here below the video and in the show notes for the podcast. And Teresa, I want to thank you for spending time with us, and we'll have you back as we get more questions from our viewers and our listeners all about recreation insurance. So we're glad we've connected with you.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's our podcast interview of the week. And of course, this is the video version for our YouTube channel. Now, you can get that quote, that specific quote, just for you, just for your RV, just for your circumstances, if you go to this special link, roadtrekking.com/insurance. roadtrekking.com/insurance. And that way you can be sure that the quote that comes back is exactly what you need. Hey, thanks for watching. That link will be in the description below. Please be sure and subscribe to the podcast. Just go to the podcast player of your choice and search for RV Podcast, and you'll find us. Subscribe, and you can get the podcast delivered to your podcast app every single week. I'm Mike Wendland. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to our RV Lifestyle channel right here on YouTube.